Hello and welcome to the Engineer Your Success, Leadership and Life Harmony Like a Mother show. I'm your host, Kenya Romanovska, award-winning investigative journalist turned maternity leave and working motherhood strategist. And we are here to tell you that you are not alone as a working mom. It can be such a difficult journey to become a mom and a working mom. So we provide you tons of tips and inspiration and wonderful guests. And today my guest is Jibs Abitoye. I didn't actually ask you before the show if I'm pronouncing it well, but I guess I was quite confident. Did I say it well?
You absolutely did. Great job.
Perfect. And she's a mom of three, a city councilor in Fort Saskatchewan, and the CEO of a social enterprise fashion business. And so we have a wonderful conversation to cover. The theme today is being deliberate about feeling good, right? And how that affects your outcomes. You know, in this community, we're so big on being intentional. So I love the theme. We'll talk about her life as a mom, work in municipal government, and the goals she has, and the charitable goals she has with her fashion work. So Jibs, welcome.
Thank you, Kenya, for having me. It's such an honor to be here.
Thank you for joining us. So when we were talking about the theme of being deliberate of feeling good, right, we ask our guests what they're going to talk about. This is a topic that's near a feeling and looking good. This is a topic that's near and dear to your heart. Why is it so important to be deliberate about looking and feeling good?
You know, there's a great book that says that as a man thinks in his heart, you know, I just said heart and I pointed to my head. Man thinks in his heart, so is he, you know, so you are what you feel. And I really like this quote that says that life is a mirror. Life doesn't give you what you want, but who you are. You know, so it is so important that as we go on in life, you know, we know that life is full of challenges. We cannot avoid them, you know, but the way we react to those challenges, the way we feel about the things that are going on, you know, it helps us, you know, put our best self forward, you know, to be able to have better outcomes in whatever it is that we're working on. So yes, feeling good is important. And I do agree that sometimes we can't help it. There are times that, you know, you were depressed or you're angry, and those emotions are real, you know, but there are ways that we can actually deflect those emotions, you know, to bring about positivity.
Absolutely. Okay, so I assume that you just didn't come up with that philosophy overnight, right? That does indicate personal reflection and possibly mentorship seeking, reading books. I would assume prayer. How did you come about having this approach and I'd say life philosophy, right? Because not everybody is so deliberate about creating the architecture of their inner world.
Yeah. And you know, actually in response to that question, I would like to take us back to my childhood, right?
Let's do it.
I was born and raised in Nigeria. And for people that do not know, if you look at the map of Africa, like people say that the map of Africa is like a gun pointed downwards. And then when you pull the trigger is where Nigeria is. That should put it in perspective.
Wow.
Well, Nigeria is referred to as the giant of Africa, so I guess that's why that analogy actually makes sense. That's just on a lighter note. But I was born and raised in Nigeria. I'm born into a lower middle class family, and you know, growing up, my mom was someone that just always gave back. We were not the richest, but my mom would share whatever little she had. You know, and then after I got a job and I started to work. I started to work in the bank, and the bank job paid me very well, but it wasn't fulfilling my desires and the goals I wanted to achieve in life. For me, it was just a way of paying the bills, you know, and so I just barely survived. And I don't mean financially because the money was good, like I said, but I just wasn't challenged at all. I was beginning to even feel brain dead. And so when the opportunity came for me to relocate to Canada, I said to myself, never again. I don't want to ever be in that position where I do not have a choice but to stay on a job that I didn't like and that was not impactful for me. I mean, it was probably impactful because I mean, I was working for the bank. So obviously some people were gaining some good services, but it just wasn't impactful for me, you know. And so I was like, I'm going to be really deliberate in what I do going forward. And so when I immigrated to Canada almost 10 years ago, the first thing I did was, as soon as my feet stepped on this land, I started to confess what I wanted to see. And I think something I want people to learn from here is really speaking what you want to see in your life. And I always say this: where you are today is what you said yesterday. And where you will be tomorrow is what you're saying today. And so what are you saying today? Now, when I came, I started to confess that, look, I possess my possession and all those good stuff, that we're taught to say. And I wrote a 5-year plan. And on that 5-year plan, one of the things I wrote was that I wanted to make a significant impact in my community. And it wasn't an accident that exactly 5 years after, I became a city councilor in my community. And so it is important that we set goals, no matter what. I'm not even sure if I'm answering your question, but I'm just going to go with the flow anyway. That no matter what the goals you have are, and it doesn't have to be something. It doesn't have to be, I want to make $20 million, or it doesn't have to be anything.
But it can be, right?
Girl, of course it can be, right?
Because we're just doing our planning. I'm just going to jump in. I told you the conversation was going to be organic. So there's Lindsay who joined my team. I'm going to introduce her. Like we have a brand new team in our company right now. And so just, you can't see on the floor, but there's a candle and there's a calendar for the whole year. And there's our goals. And then there's the 1, 3, 5, and 7 year vision. Right. And then there's like this whiteboard and stickies and vision boards here and principles for life and all of that. So it's all around there. There's a 25-year vision board right there on the ground. So it's just kind of thinking about
25
that long-term
years. Wow.
Well, it's because, it puts things in perspective. When you do a 25-year vision, you kind of zoom out and you say, well, if I want to be here in 25 years, I gotta take care of my body. Right. So it's just, I always like to go long-term to come back to the fundamentals. And now we're trying to figure out the day-to-day. And sometimes you get so stuck in the nitty-gritty, like I have to do this and pay this bill and do that thing and that, and you lose sight of the big picture. So I like when you talked about the 5-year plan too, because it's kind of a nice, it's medium term. It's time to build something bigger, right? And it's tangible, yet also open, right? You said community, you might have ended in a different position than city councilor,
right?
But I don't want to cut you off or two. I just got very excited about the goals and being intentional. So let's zoom back in.
Important. And I think it's a really good thing to talk about right now, especially it's the beginning of the new year. And when the new year comes, people feel like, oh, there's new hope, there's new excitement. There's really nothing new about a new year, to be honest, right? But it's just an opportunity for us to review and take stock of what we did last year. But how do you take stock when you don't have goals?
Yep.
Makes sense. So absolutely agree with what you said, and I love the 25-year plan. Like I haven't had that long, so I think that's something that's something I've learned here that I need to add on to all my stuff. But something I wanted to say is actually not just having the goal, but actually writing it down.
Yes.
Like a wise book always says, write the vision. You need to. So some people have goals, but guess what? It's in here. But no. Someone said, I heard someone say, like, the shortest pencil is better than the sharpest brain, because guess what? Your brain can forget that thing.
Yes.
When you write it down, it's written down and you can always refer to it, so, I lost track. I'm not even sure what your question was.
We're talking about how did you come to your philosophy to be deliberate about feeling good? And then you talked about being raised in Nigeria and how you made the choice here, like never again after your banking job to just pay the bills. So you confessed what you wanted. So we talked about the material things, and you said you wanted to make an impact on the community, and then you became the city councilor. You said, so no wonder 5 years later I became a city councilor. So that's where I jumped in with 25-year planning. But that's kind of where we talked about your journey.
Yeah, I know. And it's just really important for us to be deliberate about what we get, because if you're not deliberate, life will give you whatever life wants to give you. But you have a choice, right? You have a choice to choose what you want, and you choose what you want by confessing what you want to see. So that's, some people call it affirmations, actually using affirmations, writing down, setting your goals, writing it down and working towards it, because you're going to write, if you write the goals, it's not going to happen by itself. You know, we have to take deliberate actions to get to that point, you know. And so those are just a few things that I wanted to share about. And I know there's going to be more questions, but I can keep going about my story if you want, but if you want to go into the next question, then I'm good with that as well.
Whichever. Well, I wanted to chime in, and we can zigzag. That's okay, because you talked about looking good and feeling good, and that can be a difficult topic for moms, right? For a long time, especially when you have your first child and you're just getting used to being a new mom. You're sometimes choosing between the bathroom and a shower, or eating and going to the bathroom, right? So feeling good. I remember when I started doing my hair and putting on lipstick again after becoming a new mom, right? It was just so demanding physically, and every child is very different. But for me, having my first child like hit me hard physically. It took a while before I could actually start taking care of myself physically the way I wanted to. So tell me about what does the looking good piece have to do with it? Our first instinct might be, oh, that's superficial, but actually I personally don't think it is, right? So let's dive into that, into why looking good is a priority for you.
Yes. I mean, I think you kind of answered the question. Like, when you look good, it actually makes you feel good. I mean, for me personally, like, I do my nails, I wear my makeup. You know, I mean, you don't want to see what I'm wearing underneath this though. but I do know that when you look good, it gives you a pep. It gives you confidence, right? It gives you confidence. I know that when I'm going out and I need to go for an interview, if I dress up, it makes me feel confident, you know. And so obviously looking good makes you feel good. And you know, being a mom of 3 kids, it is hard, girl. It is freaking hard, you know, especially when you don't have help and all of that. And so I just go with the flow, right? I don't put any pressure on myself to be perfect or anything like that, you know, but I try to do the best I can, right? And if looking good makes me feel good, then I would take the extra 5 minutes. Like, I mean, how long is it going to take me to do my makeup? My makeup takes me 5 minutes, 5 to 10 minutes. I mean, let me not exaggerate, say 10 minutes, right? And so figure out that strategy. Some people will have to do their makeup for 1 hour. I'm sorry, I cannot do my makeup for 1 hour, you know, but 10 minutes I'm in and out. So figure out that's you know, that's frequency, that's your style essentially, you know, that would make you feel good. But I think as moms, I know it's really hard. I allow myself make mistakes and it's fine, you know, but if looking good makes me feel good, and I will do it, you know.
Yep.
Like, personally, I hate window shopping. I totally hate window shopping. I know some people like it. So I mean, do what makes you what you enjoy, you know. And I'm just gonna leave it at that.
I like that reflection. It's a very important one. I encourage a lot of moms. We work with moms in a tight-knit community to help them achieve those 25-year visions, right? And often I do bring it back to just start putting on a little bit of lipstick again. Start choosing a couple of clothes that make you feel good, because when we're at home with the baby, it's so easy to default to our worst clothes, right? Because we're going to get sticky hands anyway, spit up, whatever. And you have to transition out of that to some extent to raise your mental health. Like, you're getting out of sleep deprivation, you're healing from the journey. At some point, you got to make that deliberate decision that my morning routine will involve at least 1 minute or 2 of doing something nice for myself, right? And for me too, it was in terms of my eyebrows or my hair. Those are things I wrote down, and maybe it took me 6 months or 8 months to get there. But I made sure that once, like, as soon as I had the bandwidth, I would pay attention. I'd be like, oh, this is a place I can get my eyebrows done. And then I'd book it in and I'd go, and, you know, so that intentionality, I do want to emphasize it. I'm sure somebody needs to hear that message today at some point, because there are moms today who feel exhausted and they're, you know, and not their best clothes, and they're feeling tired and they just need that pep. So start with like one piece of jewelry, start with one piece of something, and then build your way to feel better about yourself, right? Doing something for you every single day. It seems small, but it has a huge impact. Going back to your journey. So tell us about becoming city councilor, like, new country, right?
Yeah.
New community. I don't know how old you were, probably early in your motherhood journey when that started, I assume. Like, I'm just making some.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. So, and so when I immigrated here in 2012, I mean, first thing was I had to find a job, right?
Yeah.
And but thankfully there wasn't like a lot of pressure to go take any kind of job, right? Because my husband was already here. He was pretty established here already, So I was the first thing I did was because I had banking experience from back home already. And so what I did was I actually went to all the banks in my community. Right. I went to the bank and I'm like, oh, can I see the branch manager? And they're probably thinking, oh, and because I kind of dress up too, right? They're like thinking, oh, yeah, big customer's going to bring some big money to the bank,
It matters what you wear to the bank. You always got to put your best clothes.
I know. So and the branch manager like, okay, can you come to my office? Can I offer you coffee or water? Can I, really treated me really nicely, like, oh, this is this great customer. And then she's like, okay, so how can I help you? And I'm like, well, I'm looking for a job.
Yeah.
Looking for a job, And you see, I have banking experience and I'm looking for a job. And most of them were always like, oh, you have to apply online. We don't really give you jobs here. But one person was like, oh, I think you'll be a great asset to this bank. Right. And she's like, okay, you know what? Here is some information. I want you to go to this open house and I'm going to tell the branch manager you're coming. To cut the story, long story short, I got a job. I got a job like just 1 month as a new immigrant in a bank with my own office. I wasn't at the counter. I had my own office. And I think something that someone can learn from this is, especially being a mom, maybe you've been at home on maternity leave, you're trying to get back into your career.
Yeah.
I know with COVID, it might be a little challenging, but I know this strategy I've shared with a few friends and it works for them. Go to where you're looking for. Go there. Right? Like it will be scary because you're not expecting you, whatever, but try it. And I know it's worked for a few people. And so I did that job for a year and a few months. After that, I was done with the job. Again, just wasn't feeling challenging anymore. And then I decided that I was going to go back to school to study power engineering. So at this point, I had a BSc in economics. And so I went to study power engineering part-time. I quit from the bank because I felt like I could do better. To be honest, the pay wasn't great as well, and the job wasn't even challenging anymore. So, well, as soon as I resigned from my bank work, I got a call from one of the companies I'd interviewed with a few months before, and they offered me a job. And I think like something I like to pull out of this specific story is that sometimes what we want is let me try and put this in a different way. Sometimes what we are holding on to is what's limiting what we want.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? Like
Absolutely.
sometimes you need to let go what's in your hand to receive that which you're looking for. So that was a story I learned from that. And then I got that job. I got pregnant after, and so I had to have my babies. So I had 2 babies back to back. And in 2016, I had I was just following the US elections and between Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump. I'm sure we all remember that one. I got really, really interested in politics. And it was actually my husband's idea, like, why don't you run for council in Fort Saskatchewan? I'm like, no, that's not going to happen. Like, I'm a new immigrant. I just like to list all the things that were just against me, like there's never been a Black person in Fort Saskatchewan. I'm a woman, just all this negatives. And I was like, let me actually go and do a bit of research, which I did. And when I did, I was like, you don't even need a degree. I'm pretty sure I can do this, And as soon as I decided I was going to do it, things just started to fall in line and fall in place. Yep. And then it worked out, right?
Yes.
Yeah, and it's been an interesting journey, to be honest with you. And one thing I want to pull out of this as well is that sometimes we have a goal that's scary, and you're like, oh God, how am I going to do this? But it's just actually taking the first step that you need. Like register that business, like talk to that person, make that connection on LinkedIn. I feel like someone needs to hear that. Send that message on LinkedIn. You never know the doors that would open, right?
I couldn't agree more. It's funny that what you just mentioned, I was reviewing my intentions note for this year, and it was let go of the old to make space for the new. Right. We often, I get a sense that just like me, you're a busybody. You like to, you like to do things, and we fill our schedules. But we don't create much emptiness. And so where I was a year ago was in a completely different place than I am now. Last year, a week ago last year, I lost my father and then my grandmother and my godfather. And I was in a really tough place with my business and mentally, not knowing where it would go. And now, looking back at my year, I had some of my two best quarters of my business at a time where I was grieving heavily, right? And I hired a bunch of professional staff to help me take the company to the next level. Many of my clients have stayed on for second terms. And so look how things can drastically change just in the span of a year, right? So I completely agree. And we often have to let go and empty and kind of make space, and sometimes just live with the anxiety of the unknown to be able to create this space for the new chapter. So that is a theme for me, for sure. And one that I will have to remind myself over and over again. You have to clear, you have to like pull the weeds from the garden. You have to just let things empty before you can fill them up again. So I love that. Like I love let go of the old to make space for the new. Yeah. So how long have you been then a counselor, and what do you love the most about the job? What do you think you bring as a unique perspective, as as an immigrant, as a mom of three, as somebody who values getting dressed really nicely, right? Those are all things that bring a unique flavor to the table, that how we impact people, how we see the world, how we influence others.
Yes. Well, first of all, I'm so sorry for your loss.
Thank you.
I pray for comfort for you.
Thank you.
And to answer your question, I've been on council now. So I did one term for 4 years. So I'm on my second term right now. So I'll say just less than 5 years. It's been an amazing journey. To be honest, when I first ran, I actually thought, even with just the experience of running in an elections was amazing, and the fact I won was just the icing on the cake. So for me, it's a really great honor to be able to represent my community in the way that I do. I do not take it for granted. And what I enjoy the most is really connecting with people, really being able to connect with people. People open up to you and share their challenges with you, and being able to find solutions, to the problem that people face. One quote that I always remember is, if you're not on the table, you're on the menu. So what that simply means is, and this is not just about politics, but just generally in life, are you on the table? Are you participating in decisions that are important to you?
Yeah.
So it doesn't have to, you don't have to be a politician. It can be on a board, for example, and it is really, as you said. So first of all, I'm actually the first Black woman elected in the province of Alberta since the 70s. Wow. And I'm saying in any political position, whether it's municipal, provincial, or federal. The first person was in the 70s in Calgary. That was it. There's never been any Black woman elected in any position. Well, until this last election, there's been a few Black women. So I'm like, oh, yes. But when I won in 2017, I was the only person. And there had been none until except in the 70s, So for me, it was just really a great honor, to be an immigrant. Like, I wasn't born here. I have an accent, as you can hear, to be in that position. So that's why I do not take it lightly. But just being able to bring a diverse perspective, I'll tell you a few things that have passed. So while on council, I had a baby. That's never happened before. And so guess what? After I had my baby, I passed a parental leave bylaw, because I'm like, there's people that would not run in the elections because you don't have a parental leave option. And I'm not saying women, I'm saying men as well. And guess what? In this last election, we saw a young dad run, and I passed a diversity and inclusion bylaw because, fine, I'm Black, but much more than my color, there's all kinds of identity factors that limit people, whether it's their age, their race, their ethnicity, their ability, their income level. So for me, being a voice for the vulnerable, and promoting diversity and inclusion is so important to me, because I don't want anyone to be excluded as we, set our policies and make our policies and priorities and investments and all the decisions we make. I need to be sure that, look, no one is being excluded. So these are just a few examples of the things I bring to the table. Oh, one more example. In order for you to sit on the board, it used to be that you have to be a permanent resident. But because I'm an immigrant, I understand it. Permanent resident is somebody else. So if someone is born here, just thinks, oh, you just have to be a resident here. No, that's not what it means. It's actually an immigration status.
Yep.
Like, you're actually putting barriers for people who are temporary workers or our student visa. What if I'm a student and I want to serve? Why are you limiting me? And so that was changed. So I think it's just really important to have a diverse voice. We all know the importance and the advantages of diversity, and so obviously I bring that perspective, on council, and it's just really great for me.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for sharing all of that. And I know we've been talking for a while. I'm going to pivot into your business because we haven't covered that yet. So let's dive right in. I'm like, yeah, we're getting close to the half-hour mark. So let's do that. I think is this part of the intention of giving back? Tell us all about your business. There you go. Let's dive in.
Yes, absolutely. So as I already mentioned to you, I'm a deeply spiritual person. I don't do things because I just feel like doing them, but I allow the Spirit of God lead me. And so in 2019, about 2 years ago, I wanted to start a business and I wanted the Spirit of God to lead me, and I asked for guidance, and I felt led to start a fashion business. So I do have a bit of training in that area, but I was hoping that the Spirit of God was going to lead me to something like a light bulb moment that will just be some sort of technology that would change the world, maybe take us to Mars. And I'm like, fashion, really? I'm kidding. But I started my fashion business in November 2019 after I had my daughter. And we started as a quintessential fashion brand, so really upscale. So dresses that you see on red carpet, like wedding guests, so it was really like upscale. And 3 months after, we went to New York Fashion Week to go showcase our collection on February 2020. And so that gave us, some awareness, some publicity. We had some, TV interviews and all of that, both national and international. And guess what? So the plan was to do like pop-ups in different parts of the country and in the US. And COVID struck, right? And so nobody was wearing suits and evening dresses in their houses anymore. So we had to pivot. And so by end of June, we launched, still under this brand, but we launched like a casual African fashion print brand where we're using really unique African prints to create comfortable clothing. And that went really well. We're able to grow our email list to 1,000 people within 2 weeks. And like we have lots of our customers in Eastern Canada as well as the US. And so as we went on this year, in 2021, giving back is so important to me. From a very young age, I would go to the orphanage and just, play with the kids and give whatever little I had to give, and I'm like, it would be nice for us to do something that actually gives back to communities. Because of COVID, people are so impacted right now. What can we do? And so last year, we decided that we're going to start a project we call Project 1 Million. 1 million? But we decided that we're going to impact 1 million people living in poverty in different parts of the world using fashion as a medium. So what we did was we created a collection we call it Alphabets by Divinity. Essentially, we're launching a collection from A to Z. 735 million people live in extreme poverty in the world. And as I said earlier, I was born into a low middle class family, and this didn't happen very often, but I remember having to go to bed hungry at least once. So I know what it is, what it means to not have food on the table sometimes. And for me, it was just important for us to give back in that way. And so we selected 7 countries in different parts of the world, and we partnered with an organization called Compassion Canada. And so as we sell this collection, 50% of the proceed goes to Compassion. And so we did our pilots in August last year, and a soft launch, let's call it a soft launch, of the A to D collection. And we're able to send 5,250 to Compassion in September, October, for a project in Haiti. So Haiti was struck by an earthquake in August last year, and so it was just really an honor. I like to use that word honor to have been a part of that project and to be able to impact lives in that way. And so this year, the plan is to officially launch that project. We're looking at sometime in March to officially launch that project. But we're just really grateful for partnerships and people who have come to participate. That the business grew from just me running around, and doing everything to right now we have 6 staff. So just really grateful for growth and just opportunities and doors that have opened up for us. And on the other hand, we also launched a brand. So the average African fashion print is somewhere between $100 to $150. We decided to launch an African fashion brand that is $20 or less. Just make it really affordable and accessible to people who are interested but can't afford that price. And so we also have generous fashion. I know I'm saying so many things, but I think I should stay on Project 1 Million. I think that's the important one.
Well, you clearly are a multi-passionate person, and I haven't really dived into your life as a mom either. Maybe that could be for another conversation. You're just kind of closing off, but I guess it's a natural segue. How do you juggle all the balls? Your business, your political work, and your children, your faith, your life as a partner, right? How does that? Let's wrap up our conversation with that, because there's a lot, right? Yeah, successful business. Congratulations, by the way, and everything. So give us some tips. Give us the scoop.
Yes. So and I do recognize that not everyone listening to this might be a Christian or a religious person, and that's okay. But I think one thing we can all agree with is that life is challenging, right? And that's the truth. It doesn't matter who you are, how wealthy you are. Life can be challenging, but I like to draw my strength from what I believe in, right? But I'm also deliberate in certain things, in really renewing my mind, and setting the tone for the day, and going to affirmations and prayer. That really strengthens me. And I have a good support network because what, we're moms, we can't do it all. I'm not afraid to ask for help. I am not like, my friends know me. Like, I'm not afraid to ask for help. I ask for help every freaking time because guess what? I can do it all alone. So I have a great support network. I'm able to lean on my husband and lean on friends and lean on babysitters. My kids are really extra. Yeah. My kids are extra. You're probably even hearing them jumping up and down right now upstairs. So I think I do affirmations. I'm deliberate in that I divide my day into the thing. I go with a to-do list. So in the morning, I plan my day in the morning. I write a to-do list, things that are important for me to do. And by the end of the day, if I miss something, I don't punish myself and say, oh my God, you did this. I give myself permission to make mistakes. Like I said this already. I give myself permission to not be on point, because guess what? We're humans, errors will happen, and it doesn't have to be on point. If I'll give you an example, there was a time that for some reason, I don't know if it was midterms or something, my kids' school school was closed essentially. But I dressed my kids up, and then we went outside and we waited for the bus, and I'm like, where's this freaking bus? Why isn't it coming? Only for me to realize that, the school was actually not in session. So the thought in my head was like, oh my God, you're such an embarrassment. Like, how would you not know that? And you call yourself a counselor. You're just supposed to be an example. But I immediately shut that thoughts up and say, you know what? It's okay to make mistakes.
Yes,
So
absolutely.
give yourself permission to make mistakes, but continue to put one foot in front of the other every day. Don't give up. Don't give
Absolutely.
up. You can do whatever it is you set yourself to. And I always say, I want to leave you with these 3 points. These are the 3 strategies I live my life by. Number 1, don't settle. I always say this, don't settle. That's number 1. Number 2, give back. Find a way to give back. It doesn't have to be money. It can be even giving time to your friend and just listening to her issues, and just be there for her. Give back. Number 3, get a mentor and or a coach. Everyone needs a mentor and or a coach, because your coach takes you from where you are to, they kind of shorten your journey, right? And you learn from their own life experiences and you're able to get to where you need to get to.
Yes, I did. We were already at 3. I'm waiting for the next ones to come, but that was number 3. Absolutely. That's what we do here at Pros and Babes. We offer that type of structure and accountability and mentorship to women. So I'm definitely on that one. I admire you giving back. I loved hearing your kids upstairs. Actually, it makes things come to life, especially when we become so polished as women. It's nice to reveal also the humanity that, yes, you forget things too, right? And
Right.
Nobody's perfect, and we make those mistakes, and we can dust ourselves off and keep moving and show that humanity to others. Jibs, as the last question, where can people find out more about you? Is there a webpage for, I see project1million.ca, so we can put that in the link. Is that the best place to find you?
Yes.
Yes, absolutely. And is there anything else you would like to share with our audience? Point them to any resources, any talks, anything you'd like for people to know when they listen today?
Like a personal thing or something like?
Yeah, just any event that's coming up, or any resource, any other websites, any social media, anything that you would like our listeners to be aware of. If you don't have anything today either, that's fine too. But I always like to ask my guests if there's something that we should know today.
Yeah, so we have our launch coming up by March, somewhere in March or April. So I can send you that information, so maybe you can add that on later. But I know I talked about Generous Fashion. Generous Fashion is an African fashion brand that, like I said, we started. Everything is $20 and below. Next month is Black History Month, so I know that lots of people will be thinking, okay, I like to support a Black business, whatever, so that will be a place, to be able to get something that's African, because I know things are really expensive, but we just want to find ways that people can, find the, relates with the fashion, but in a really affordable way, right? So generousfashion20.com. I can send you the website as well.
Absolutely. Wonderful. Yeah. Okay. Well, thank you so much for your time. I will wrap up our show, and then I will see you backstage to say thank you again.
Awesome. Thank you for having me. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.